Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And when you have an ex-United Kingdom Prime Minister calling for a global government, you know things are becoming to get really serious when it comes to what is the agenda behind the coronavirus. I'm talking about Gordon Brown, the ex-Labour Prime Minister in the United Kingdom, who has now openly called for a world government to tackle the twin medical and economic crises caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. You know what he's talking about here? He's talking about a new world order, one world government, one currency, run by the big bankers. This is where the world and different country states have just got to fight back and say, no way. Let me give you an update on what we're talking about here. Gordon Brown has urged world leaders to create a temporary form of global government to tackle the twin medical and economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Operative word, temporary. That'll soon be replaced with permanent form of global government. The former Labour Prime Minister, who was at the centre of the international efforts to tackle the impact of the near meltdown of the banks in 2008, said there was a need for a task force involving world leaders, health experts and the heads of the international organisations that would have executive powers to coordinate the response. A virtual meeting of the G20 group of developed and developing countries, chaired by Saudi Arabia, will be held on Thursday, but Brown said it would have been preferable to have also included the United Nations Security Council. Now, people are probably unaware of this, but the UN building is actually built on land owned by the Rockefellers. That kind of tells you something about what's behind the United Nations, doesn't it? Anyway, Brown said, this is not something that can be dealt with in one country. There has to be a coordinated global response. He said the current crisis was different to the one he was involved in. That was an economic problem that had economic causes and had an economic solution. This is first and foremost a medical emergency, and there has to be joint action to deal with that. But the more you intervene to deal with the medical emergency, the more you put economies at risk. During the financial crisis, Brown persuaded other global leaders of the need to bail out the banks and then hosted a meeting of the G20 in London, which came up with a $1.1 trillion rescue package. Despite Donald Trump's America First policy, he said it was impossible to get support for an emergency body without executive powers. Brown said his proposed global task force would fight the crisis on two fronts. There would need to be a coordinated effort to find a vaccine and to organize production, purchasing, and prevent profiteering. Many countries have announced economic packages in the past 2 weeks, but Brown said a task force could make sure the efforts of central banks were coordinated, take steps to prevent the record flight of capital from emerging market economies, and agree a joint approach to the use of government spending to boost growth. I think you're getting the picture here. Brown said there had been resistance in 2018 to using the G20 as a vehicle for tackling the financial crisis, but that it should be clear to world leaders that there was no possibility of a go-it-alone approach working. He said, we need some sort of working executive. If I were doing it again, I would make the G20 a broader organization because in the current circumstances, you need to listen to the countries that are most affected, the countries that are making a difference, and countries where there is a potential for a massive number of people to be affected, such as those in Africa and South Africa. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund needed an increase in their financial firepower to cope with the impact of the crisis on low and middle income countries, he said. So there you go, guys. We've now got very senior ex-government officials, like the Prime Minister of the UK, now suggesting a global government. Many people have been conspiracy theorists suggesting that's what's behind the COVID-19. Now you have some kind of clarification, and it looks like this is probably one of the objectives that certain parties are looking for. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed and ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe.